من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. It's the eve of the birthday of Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, Imam al-Ra'uf, the kind Imam. So we'll switch the topic a little bit towards the Imamat and the role of the Imam. Also in this Surat al-Hujuraat, all the etiquettes that were being mentioned were as to how a person is in the presence of Rasulullah and the Imam. Now this also, it's the same thing, the same as to what our Aqidah is regarding the Imam and the role of the Imam and the benefits that we get and the benefits of the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. A hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam talking about the reward of the ziyarat of the 8th Imam. The Prophet, he says, "Satudfanu bad'atun minni bi Khurasan." Part of me will be buried in Khurasan. ما زارها مكروب إلا نفس الله كربته ولا مذنب إلا غفر الله ذنوبه. Neither grieved nor sinner would not visit him, but that his grief is removed and that his sins, they are forgiven. That's the least, the minimum barakat or the benefit a person gets for the ziyarat of the Imam. Sins are forgiven, grief is removed. Now, in addition to all those benevolent and those high rewards, depending on the intention of an individual, what he benefits, in addition to that, من زارني على بعد داري ومزاري أتيته يوم القيامة في 3 مواطن حتى أخلصه من أهوالها. Says that despite the distance, because Imam Rida alayhi salam, he is buried away from the other A'immah. Now, those of the A'immah who are in Medina, they are close to each other in Medina by Rasulullah. And then there are so many in Iraq, they are in one place. Now, the one who is off and away from others, it is Imam Rida alayhi salam. Here Imam says that despite the distance that I am away, a distance of my grave, someone who visits me, I will come to him on 3 locations in the hereafter. And I will relieve him from the horrors of those stops. And then he says, one, it is when من أهوالها إذا تطايرت الكتب يمينا وشمالا. When the statement of accounts will be all scattered from left to right, there I will come and help him out. And then he says وعند الصراط وعند الميزان. By the Sirat, that is on the bridge, and by the Mizan, by the scale of balance, I'll be there and I will help you out, bail you out, only for that ziyarat that you've paid to me, despite the distance that I'm away from others and far away from everyone. Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, man zarani wa huwa ya'rifu ma awjab Allah ta'ala min haqqi wa ta'ati فأنا وآبائي شفعاؤه يوم القيامة ومن كنا شفعاؤه نجا. One who visited me and he knew that what Allah has obligated, that is my right and obedience towards me, I and my fathers will be his shafi'ah on the day of judgment, and whosoever's shafi we are, he will find salvation. Now all these are statements of ma'asumeen, and it has been mentioned repeatedly that the statements of ma'asumeen, they are like the ayat of Quran, they are revelation, they are wahy. Whatever is said by the Imam is haqq. Now in the first hadith that was recited today, where Imam said that on 3 stations I will come and meet him, one of the Maraji Taqleed of our time, who passed away in 1998, is Marhum Ayatullah al-Uzma Sheikh Muhammad Ali Araki. He was the Marja Taqleed for a few years after Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah alayhi. He lived for over a century, and he died in the late 80s, mid-90s. Now this great alim, his son says that throughout his life, he used to pay a visit to Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. He used to pay a visit to Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, and whenever he used to get a day off from the Hawza, the incident is from the son of Ayatullah, the founder of the Hawza Ilmiya of Qom. It's his incident. So whenever he used to get a day off, he used to set off and go to pay a visit to Mashhad. And in those days, travel also wasn't easy, and many a times when there wasn't any seat in the bus, he used to take a bucket with him, turn the bucket upside down, sit on the bucket all the way until Mashhad, which was in a coach about a day, 18 to 20 hours. It's 1,200 kilometers from Qom. So he used to go perform a ziyarat and then return. So throughout his life, he performed 115 ziyarat. As he was getting old, his son, he used to say that it's enough, you've performed so many ziyarat, now you can't, and your health also cannot, is not coping with you. He used to say that just let me do what I'm doing. He passed away, and after his burial, on the third day, the sons, they say that when in one of these visions, when we saw him, the first thing we inquired is that all these ziyarat that you paid to Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, what reward were you given? He says, I paid 115 visits to the Imam, and it's not even 3 days since I've come to Barzakh, and he has visited me more than those 115 times. So when Imams, they promise something, they do it, and whatever they say, it's done more than what is uttered and said by them. Now with reference to Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says, Inni sa'uqtalu bis-sam, I will be poisoned and killed oppressed, and one who visited me knowing my right, Allah will forgive his past and his future sins. So someone who visits the Imam alayhi salam, and then knowing that he is the rightful Imam, and then we know that he was killed, he was poisoned. Now, وَهَذِهِ الْبُقْعَةُ رَوْضَةٌ مِّن رِيَاضِ الْجَنَّةِ. He further states that this shrine that you will come and pay a visit to me there, it is a garden from among the gardens of the paradise, where the angels, they frequent. Swarms of angels from the sky will continue to descend, and swarms will ascend until the blowing of the horn. That is the magnificent rank that Allah has given to the Imam alayhi salam. Now one thing is that the role of Imam, never assume that it was only for the past, that is the time when the Imams were alive. Now that they have passed away, that role doesn't exist. No, Imam is an Imam whether he is alive or whether he is in his grave. All those adab, all those etiquettes, all that aqidah and belief that we have, that we get from the Imam, when you pay a visit and then you come to the shrine, you say, Ashhadu annaka tasma'u kalami. And when you are entering the shrine, you say, I bear witness that you hear me. وَتَرُدُّ salami, and this salam of mine, you respond to my salam. And it happened, and he does respond. Now we don't hear, there's a flaw in our hearing. Imams, they are the mediators of the divine downpour of Allah's mercy. Like a strong generator of electricity providing energy to a bulb, to a lamp, to a light bulb. So there is this transformer that is required that transforms the power from that source which is such high, regulates it, and then dilutes it, simplifies it, and sends it to all these distribution centers, all these destinations. Now this cord that is connecting this transformer or these light bulbs to that main power supply, that is the Imam. That is the Imam that it's the job of the Imam as well. Now Imam Hadi alayhi salam, he has a ziyarat Jami'at al-Kabira. In that ziyarat, Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, he says, Bikum fatahallah wa bikum yakhtim. That is, it is by you. That is you meaning you the Imams, all the 12 Imams. Bikum fatahallah, Allah opened everything. That is this existence that you see, it was brought into existence because of you, or by you, for you. وَبِكُمْ يَخْتِمْ, and through you he will bring it to an end. Now awliya are the atomic divine energy. By their presence they control, they guide, they take on board even those who have little to do with the wilayat. They help them out. They don't leave anyone stranded. Marhum Ayatullah Mudarris, Shaheed Mudarris, he was killed by the Reza Shah Pahlavi, father of Muhammad Reza, the one who was ousted by Imam Khomeini from Iran in 1979. Now Shaheed Mudarris, he is among those ulama who had great influence on Imam Khomeini. Marhum Shaheed Mudarris said to Reza Khan that no matter where I die, my grave will be a place of ziyarah. It will be a shrine for people to come and visit. Your grave will be devastated, it will be barren. Now how did he know that? That his grave is going to be as such, and the outcome of that Reza Shah will be as such. And all these statements, then when they say, and it so happened that despite he was killed, he was murdered, but now you go and see, he's got such a magnificent mazar where thousands of people, they come to pay a visit to him despite decades have passed since his shahadat. And this murderer, the killer, the Reza Shah, no trace of his grave exists. So from where do they get this information? As a result of that purity of the soul and connection with the Imam alayhi salam, they get all this information. Or for example, one of the other shuhada that we have, Marhum Ayatullah Ashrafi Isfahani. In the early days of the Islamic Revolution, you had so many ulama, great ulama, who were killed. 3 of them were killed in the mihrab, that is Shuhada Mihrab. Shuhada Mihrab are those ulama who were killed amidst their prayers, like the Friday prayers that were being offered, like Shaheed Arif Hussaini, he also is Shaheed Mihrab, he was killed in the mosque in the Mihrab, and like Shaheed Baqir Hakim, Ayatullah Baqir Hakim, he also, when offering and leading the Jummah prayers, he was killed. In Iran, we have 4 Shuhada Mihrab. Now Ayatullah Ashrafi Isfahani is the 4th one. Now Shaheed Madani, Shaheed Dast Ghaib, Shaheed Saduqi, these 3 were killed. He used to say, and Shaheed Ashrafi Isfahani, that I'm going to be the 4th Shaheed Mihrab. Now how did he know that? So that is as a result of that connection with the Imam alayhi salam that a person has, and the purity of his soul, that he has arrived to those ranks, that when Imams alayhi salam they say, and you get connected to them, you benefit from them. Now, among those people who have had the honor of meeting Imam al-Asr alayhi salam is Ali ibn Mahziyar from Ahwaz of Iran. He said to him, Imam says, stay there in Khuzestan, so that by your presence people they benefit. So by your presence balas they are removed. So dwellers of that land they benefit from your presence. Or like for example in Cairo. In Cairo you've got the haram of Sayyida Nafisa. Sayyida Nafisa, she is the granddaughter of Imam Mujtaba and the daughter-in-law of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. When she died and the body was being taken from Cairo to Medina to be buried by her husband Yahya Mumtahan, there the instructions given to them that no, don't take the body, let her be buried here in Cairo. Why in Cairo? So that her presence, her grave, it remains a means of downpour of barakat. So presence of awliyaullah, may they be alive, may they have passed away, their presence has that benefit. Now these are people who are not ma'asum, like Ali ibn Mahziyar, like these shuhada that were mentioned, just ordinary people. And then they have such magnificent and great barakat. Now the barakat that are present by the presence of the ma'asumeen, that cannot be, we cannot really understand, we cannot perceive. Now it is by the presence of an Imam, Allah's wrath, it is removed, it's taken away. Now when the Almighty Allah, He sent His angels to go and destroy the city of Lut, the angels, they said, Inna fiha Lut. Lut lives in that city. That is a city wherein a Waliullah, a Prophet, an Imam lives, that is safe. Allah's azab and chastisement does not come to that place. That is a place wherein a Waliullah lives is secure and safe. Now Allah, in reply to the angels, He says, Nahnu a'lamu biman fiha, we know who is there. And then when Jibreel does come there to pound and destroy that land, here the greatness of Jibreel salamullah alayhi, inshallah on an occasion we'll talk about Jibreel alayhi salam himself, the might that Allah has given to him. He says that he's been blessed with 600 wings, whereas Israfil, he is the greatest of the angels of Allah, has been blessed with 1200 wings. And Jibreel says, from these 600 wings that have been given to me, I've used only 2 of them. The remaining I haven't used them and Israfil with 1200 wings. Now when this azab was to be poured on this land and the entire city was to be destroyed, Jibreel comes and he just dissects that place where Prophet Lut's dwelling place was from the remaining land, and the entire land was pounded by just overturning and upturning by his wing. So that is that azamat that Allah has given to him. Now over here, the city was safe because of the presence of a Waliullah, and that is Prophet Lut alayhi salatu wassalam. So we need an Imam because we need a guide. Don't we have aql, the intellect? Many a times people say that we can understand, we can make our own decisions, we don't need an Imam. Now if we say that people who do have aql and who do understand, who make their own decisions, have they not made wrong decisions in their life? Have they not regretted? Every one of us have made hundreds of mistakes, hundreds of times we have regretted, and we do the same thing again. So why do we regret? Because that aql, that intellect that is given to us, it doesn't make the right decision all the time, as a result of which we regret. If decisions were all right, then why so many divorces? So all these divorcees one day said to each other before getting married all the best of things, all the nicest of things. But then how come they ended up separating from one another? So that is, they changed down the road. Means that it was a wrong decision. Means that the aql they had, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't complete. The aql that is given to an imam alayhi salatu wassalam is perfect, is kamil. He never regrets. Whatever he says, whatever he does, whatever he thinks, it is all perfect. So in our selections, if they were right, then why all these splits and separations? So means that there was a wrong decision, or there is a regret down the road. Now with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, we don't find any of these flaws, because that is that perfection that Allah has given to them. And following the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam means salvation of the believer. Why? Because Imam, he is qawlun fasl, meaning that the final say, the ultimate word, is the word of the Imam alayhis salam. That is the statement. Whatever he says, that is the decisive command. Now everyone says something, but there has to be someone who has to have a final say, and that is the Imam alayhis salam. Now many a times you've heard this hadith which says that it's quite famous also. The Prophet has said that after me this nation will be formed into 73 sects or 71 sects, 72 sects. Just one will find salvation, all the others will not. Now every one of them says that it's us that the Prophet is talking about. It's like a father saying to his 5 sons, for example, that I love one of you, and every one of them claims that it is me who my father loves. They don't know which one it is, but everyone claims that we are the right ones. So there is one firqatun najiyah. The Prophet says only one is going to find salvation. Now who is that one will be safe, firqatun najiyah? So every other school from these 73 sects, they say it is us. But then when we look into the sayings and statements of Ma'asumeen alayhimus salam, says mathalu ahlu bayti kamathali safinatin Nuh. That is, the example of the parable of my Ahlul Bayt is the parable of the ark of Prophet Nuh. Whosoever embarks on it will be safe. Whoever abandons it will be ruined. So here also those who are with the Prophet, with the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, are the ones who will find salvation. Now, Awliyaullah, they are an exemplary for the believers. So if you want a role model to learn something from someone, the best of them are the Imams alayhimus salam. Now you've heard the term uswa that has been mentioned twice in Quran, one for Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam and one for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, where he says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. That is, you'll find in the Prophet the best of exemplaries. So furthermore, he sets an example of a woman for both men and women. Says, ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِمْرَأَةَ فِرْعَوْنَ. Another example that he sets as a role model, it's the wife of Fir'aun. Fir'aun's wife, she saw that all that surplus of wealth was there. She did nothing attracted her, all that wealth. She was living in palaces. She saw all the beautiful and the best of charms and attractions. That also did not attract her. She faced that torture. That also did not stop her. And in the headquarters of Taghut and Tughyan, this wife of Fir'aun, she becomes the follower of Prophet Musa alayhis salam. That is how a person, when he knows that who the role model is and he is after Waliullah, he finds salvation, and Allah also states him as an example for everyone. Likewise, when we look into the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, their children, for example in Karbala, when these children were taken into captivity and were taken from Karbala to Sham, the reporter, he comes and says that how did you find everything over here after going through such a tough time? How was it? Those little children, they used to say, Alhamdulillah, adad al-raml wal-hisa. That is, praise be to Allah, the count of all the grains of the sands and stones. Now, someone who's gone through such a tough time, and not even a ma'asum himself, it's children. Children, when they can be so high in their understanding and their thoughts, then how can you try and perceive the Imams alayhimus salam? So whoever is connected with the awliyaullah, they are safe. Now, being firm against all these ruthless powers or taghut in the seerah of the Imams alayhimus salam, also that is the role of the Imams. In this world, it is the arrogant powers that rule, the oppressors, and there has to be someone who stands firm and fights this taghut, this arrogant power. For example, in the names that were just mentioned, like Shaheed Mudarris, a glimpse of the fragrance of the Imam he got, or a glimpse of the fragrance of the Imam hit him. Imam Khomeini said that a breeze of Islam has hit us, has come to us. Reza Shah to Mudarris, he said once that don't step on my tail. In reply to Reza Shah, he says, Mudarris replies that no matter where we step, it's your tail. We don't know where your tail ends. So having this courage and guts to speak back to such an arrogant power, arrogant king, that requires guts, that requires power, that requires that strength. And how do you get that? That is by through the Imams alayhimus salam. Now, this person with such high and strong statements, when you look at him, his clothing is just simple, drowned in humility, compared to that taghut, that Shah, who's drowned in all riches and wealth, adorned with all gold and silver. But then when it comes to standing and opposing him, it's that strength that is given to him via the Imams and this belief in the Imamat, that a person, he becomes such strong. Now, every plot they make and all calculations they do, there is a divine power that helps. قُلِ اللَّهُ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ. Say Allah, then leave them sporting in their vain discourse. Now, once Mansur Dawaniqi, he said that this Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is a bone stuck in my throat. Neither can I swallow it, nor can I tolerate him. All our Imams were like that. All of them were martyred, not one died a natural death, and which means that all of them, they stood against batil, all of them stood against evil, means all of them were right. Now, if we were to unite, where do we unite and how do we unite? There has to be a criteria that we unite, and that is, there has to be a foundation, a basis, and that is Imam. We can unite around the Imam, with the Imam. The center point can be the Imam, should be the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, the other thing that we learn is that the infallible Imams, they protect the hudud and the laws of the Almighty Allah. So it is the Imam who protects everything. Now, when we say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, guide us to the right path, that right path is the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. There has to be a measure, a scale that measures the right from wrong. What can that measure be? that measure has to be the Imam alayhi salam. The Allama Abini, the author of Al-Ghadir, he says that can anyone report a hadith, or can anyone sit on the minbar, have access to the minbar and speak? Can anyone report anything? There has to be something that stops and hinders, and there have to be some regulations that not everyone has the access to do that, so that this deen also, it remains safe. Hadith says that if you find a hadith which contradicts Quran, you don't take it. So there is a measure that has been placed over there. There is a scale on which you measure these riwayat, and that is the Holy Quran. Likewise, it is the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. With reference to the Imam alayhi salam, we believe he is ma'asum. Ma'asum means infallible, infallible in his thought, infallible in his speech, infallible in his actions, and every way Imam, he is ma'asum, just like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Whatever is said by the Imam, it is haqq, and whatever for example, when you want to get to the Imam, on many occasions Imam, he appoints representatives, and he says you go and get your masail from the representatives, because of the distance and people couldn't travel all that way and get to the Imam alayhi salam. For example, on one occasion he says that people from Qum, when they came to the Imam said, Alayka bi Zakariya bin Adam. Zakariya bin Adam, he's one of the great fuqaha of the time of Imam Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam. The Imam says, go to him and get your masail from Zakariya bin Adam. Now those of you who've been to Qum, he's buried in the graveyard of Shaykhan, close to the sacred shrine of Hazrat Ma'asuma salamullahi alayha. And then Imam says, Innahul ma'moon ala deen wa dunya. Indeed, he are trustworthy in religion and in dunya. So Imam, he appoints, he gives you directions that who you get your deen from. Now all these are as a result of being and bonding with the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. And we say, Assalamu alayka ya mizan, that salam be upon you, that mizan, the balance, and that is the Imam alayhi salatu wassalam. And on this birthday of Imam Rida alayhi salatu wassalam, Allah help us be with the Imams, bond with the Imams, and understand this entire notion and aqidah that we have in Imamat. That Imam, he is an Imam in everything. وسبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.